Hi everybody, happy snow day. It's Miss Alyssa. I'm here at my house and I'm gonna do a demo video with my dog Viv, showing you guys how to do the painting with recycled materials. So remember, with this painting, we're trying to do three things. Number one, we're trying to use recycled materials. I have some old house paint here. I have some paint chips from the hardware store that I've been using in my murals class. I ripped out a page from a magazine here. I've got some of the pens actually that we used in our last project, and there'll be a few more materials you guys will have access to. The second thing is we're going to try to incorporate some sort of tree into our painting. I'll do a few examples to show you the many ways you could incorporate a tree. And then number three is to have a focal point. Some part of your painting where you want the viewer to pay the most attention to, using contrast and emphasis. I'm going to take my piece of cardboard and cut it into three sections. I'm going to try to do three separate little demo paintings for you guys so you can get more options. This cardboard, Mr. Schmitz and I just recycled from boxes around school. And if you want to custom change the size of your cardboard, round the corners, whatever, just grab a pair of scissors and go for it. Make sure that you're putting your name on the back though, and your period, so we can keep track. After your name is on the back side, we recommend that you do some sort of sketches, little general idea sketches with a pencil before you start adding materials like paint and collage. So here's one of the ideas I'm going to try. I love birch trees, and I was thinking about having a brightly colored bird here as the focal point. I'll paint the birch trees white and then maybe leave this background the brown cardboard color and just see how it looks. So this is a sketch for idea number one. When I looked online, I found this really simple painting of birch trees that was my inspiration. For idea number two, I'm thinking about when I was little, I used to hang eggs from branches in the spring as a decoration with my mom. I also saw this when I got to travel to Sweden on a teaching exchange. So I was thinking about making these brightly colored eggs hanging off this branch. I may leave this branch the color of the cardboard and then paint around it. And probably this egg will be my focal point. It's the biggest one, and I'll probably make it the most colorful. I looked online and I found this branch that I tried to draw on my piece of cardboard. And then for my third idea, I'm going to be drawing a whole tree here with branches and then add on leaves in kind of a mixed media style. Thinking about making the branches black or dark like this one, and then just kind of having fun with the leaves in the background. This one reminds me more of what we did when we went outside and drew the whole trees on the front lawn, where you kind of do Y formations with the branches and then coming out from the trunk, just going in all directions. I may not add too many little teeny branches just to keep it more simple. So in front of me right now I have just a container of some recycled paint. It's kind of like a off-white beige color. And I'm going to use small brushes for this assignment. We don't need to use a ton of paint for it. We'll have, each table will have a few buckets of acrylic latex paint that has been donated to our school. And then a little palette where you can do some paint mixing. You can take a spoon if you want, and so as not to contaminate the paint color, bring a little bit of paint and then drop it into your palette. Small bits at a time. You probably won't need more than a dime size amount of paint to paint a big piece of your cardboard. So using this small brush, for this one I'm going around my branch, and so I'm going to be going right up to the branch here, but not going over my pencil line, so that the branch is actually the color of the cardboard and the background is this white. I'll go in with other colors later, but for now I'm just practicing brush control, smoothing out my paint, and trying not to cover up the branch that I drew with the white paint. Another reason we're using small brushes for this project is because the paint that we're using is a non-washable paint. It's an acrylic latex, so it's the same kind of paint that you put onto the walls at your house, and it does not really wash out of clothes unless you catch it right away. It will come off your hands with a little bit of scrubbing, but we want to keep it under control because it does stain clothing and other things if it is left. For this one, I've decided to paint the birch trees. In this case, I'm going to use the white again, and I'm going to leave the background the cardboard color for now. I can come in later and use a pen or pencil or black paint to add in those details on the birch tree. So right now I'm just trying to stay in the lines. When I get to the edge of the cardboard, I may just leave it kind of raw to show the texture of the cardboard and that I'm using cardboard, showing off the fact that I'm using these recycled materials. And when I'm painting, I'm trying not to leave blobs of paint, smoothing it out as I go. Some colors may require two coats. The white is more opaque and not transparent and see-through. One trick is when you go right against the line, you pull the paintbrush in the direction of the line and almost follow it all the way up, creating a nice even bead of paint, but not going over the line. Once you get the lines down, so it's nice and clean, then you can kind of be a little bit messier with the inside as you color in the paint. So here are my birch trees. They've only been drying for a few minutes and they're already dry to the touch. At this point, I could do some more drawing on them with pencil, or if it's totally dry, I could do some drawing with them with these felt tip markers. Make sure you don't use these markers though on any surface that's wet. I have two assistants also making paintings like this, so I'll show you what they're doing. Here's my egg tree one, and this one's drying, and I'm working on my third one now. When I think about this idea, if you do a whole tree, you have two options. One option is to paint around the background and the tree branches. That kind of seems like a lot of work. Another option I think I'm going to do is to paint the whole background with this white paint and then draw the tree again later on top of the white paint. That way I don't have to go around every single little branch. It'll go faster. So I'm going to start with a white background here instead of that tree drawing. And I'll just draw the tree on top of this white paint. It's drying fast, but if I use a pencil, I can draw over it while it's drying. I'm not going to use a felt tip marker for this. I'm kind of inspired by what's happening outside. The tree, I'm not going to use this brush. And in order to keep it in good shape, I'm going to put it in some water so that it doesn't dry out. You're putting more colors in your palette. You could share your palette with a friend since we're not using that much paint. I'm going to grab a little bit of black here and I'm going to put it in one of the spots that doesn't have another color and then return the spoon to the container. Alright, so I redrew my tree and I got another color here. This is the old green paint from my old house and I put a little bit in the palette there. We're all sharing it right now. Next step, I'll start adding a few colors from recycled paints to my painting. Switch between colors. I can use the same brush. This one has the white on it. And a trick I learned was to do figure eights. Make an 8 shape with the brush in the water. And then you go the other direction too. And it comes out cleaner that way. And then grab a little bit of paper towel and dry it off before you switch to your next color. Alright, so to make my focal point on this one, I'm going to do a brightly colored egg. The problem is none of my recycled paints are very bright colors. So I'm going to actually just take a magazine here and maybe cut out part of this image to make a brighter colored egg. And then I'm going to glue it on collage style for my focal point. Okay, so I think this one's done now. I put a 4th egg on here using some collage from that magazine page I ripped out. And that will be my focal point since it's more detailed and bigger and brighter than the other eggs. I put my name down in the bottom right hand corner to signal that I'm finished. And I also forgot to mention that I use that black felt tip pen to outline the different parts of my stick. In this one for my birch trees, I think I'm just going to stick with a pencil. I kind of like how shiny it gets, and I'm going to draw the branches and some of the little black things in the birch trees with the pencil. If you mess up, the good news with acrylics is that you can paint over your mistakes. In this case, I went outside the line. I think I'll just make that into a little bit of a pencil branch. But my daughter did one, and she wants to start over. So she actually just covered the whole thing with light colored paint and is waiting for it to dry so that she can paint it. Here are my birch trees. I drew in some of the details with just a pencil. And I think I'm going to make my focal point. I had a little bird right here. I think I'm just going to cut that bird again out of this paint chip and put it up there, and it'll be the only thing that's a different color, so it'll hopefully catch the viewer's attention and be a good focal point. A simple bird shape. Here, I'll cut that out, and then I can just flip it around and glue it on. So to put my bird on this branch, I actually cut it and then drop the tail down below the branch. And I'm not sure if I like how it looks, but I think I'm going to leave it for today, and next time I look at it, see what my first impression is. Back to my last painting. I did the tree limbs just with a straight black, and now I'm kind of custom mixing bluish snow color, like a shaded snow. snow in the evening. And I'm mixing separately from my pure white and my pure blue, like a light blue. If you are using your palette to do some custom colors, do it in a separate spot so that you still have your pure colors for you and others to share. And I'm just kind of painting in some shadows now. This is Grace's painting. She's a second grader and she's friends with my daughter. Grace, which part is the focal point of your painting?
So, this is this bird right here. I took it out of a magazine, and yeah, so it's the flower part of the magazine. And I thought it would look cool if I put it in, and like I turned it into a
Here's
bird.
how my last painting turned out. I ended up doing kind of like a spaceship coming up over some houses. It's a little random, but it's kind of fun. And I added some little collage elements with the magazine, like the lights coming out of the spaceship. And then I kind of tinted the snow here yellow to match the spaceship and a little bit of that blue that I had from the recycled paint to do a shadow. And sign the bottom of that. I forgot to mention that I use these directional lines to help make the spaceship the focal point. Here are a few examples of how you can use mixed media, recycled materials, to make a tree painting with a focal point. When you're cleaning up, make sure you put the lids on the containers of paint at your table so they don't dry out. And then you're going to need to wash out your palette so that the students in the next class will have a nice clean palette to use for their paints. The best way to wash out the palette is to use some sort of scrubby sponge to just scrape the paint out of the little circles. If you try to do it with your fingers or just the water, it'll take forever. And then give it one final rinse and set it out to dry.